Dolphins Central. Here's Ryan Yousefi and Thomas Galicia.
I wonder how clear it must look from there to here. No obstruction, the selfish corruption. Only this atmosphere. No fear, less tears. Only time to catch my breath. I felt.
Welcome everybody to Dolphins Central. I'm Thomas Galicia, joined by my co-host Ryan Yousefi. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing alright. How about you, man?
Pretty good. Have you thrown your hat in the ring yet to become the next CEO of the Miami Dolphins?
I prefer that Dan Marino take that position myself, but that's high hopes. I saw Patrick Surtain on Twitter saying he was going to apply, but let's just get somebody. Let's just play football. I'm so over this promotion side of the team. That pretty much everything they've tried to do has failed. So let's just play football and get somebody in there that's just going to do your normal, stuff to get fans in the seats. Like, I don't know, win games and give away T-shirts or something. Don't make it so tough on yourself.
That's as simple as that. As long as they win games, the fans are going to show up. That's how it works here. That's how it's always worked with the Dolphins. And best of luck to Mike D with the Padres, by the way. But felt I had to comment on that.
Yeah, really exciting for him. Yeah.
So
now his star is what, Cameron Maven. He can have Cameron Maven Day. That should be really exciting for him.
No. What he has to do is he has to have a day where he honors the LA Dodgers or something.
Right.
Maybe Kirk Gibson Day. I don't know. So yeah, a very interesting show today. Our first guest is actually a member of the Miami Dolphins, and he's someone that I like to be a sleeper to make it to the final 53 roster, and that is undrafted free agent Jasper Collins. Have you seen anything about this kid?
Some more research, stuff online about him. It seems that the kid is someone that, I guess he picked the Dolphins, so that's interesting because they are pretty set at wide receiver, but I liked a lot of stuff I was reading. It just seems like he doesn't rely on just his speed. He doesn't rely on just his route running. He's kind of an all-around player. He's not the biggest guy, but it seems that he's real productive at Mount Union, which has produced a couple players that you've heard of, Pierre Garçon and Cecil Short. So let's see what he can do. He wouldn't be the first guy to get in camp and break off a huge return and have his name shouted for as a 53rd guy. So let's see what he's got.
Yes, and he is coming up on Dolphins Central Radio. Stay tuned.
Football fans, looking to get healthy this year? Now is the time, and I have the perfect place for you. Save 10% at onit.com/football radio. Exclusive PFC radio listeners save 10% off their order. That's onit.com. ONNIT.com/football radio.
Hey, we're joined here on Dolphins Central with new Miami Dolphin Jasper Collins. How you doing today, Jasper?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. How's it feel to be a Miami Dolphin?
It feels great. Amazing opportunity.
Yes. Hey, how you preparing for camp this weekend? You getting set to move into the new digs down there in Davie?
Oh, yeah, definitely getting ready. I actually just got back this morning from Minnesota. I was down with Larry Fitzgerald's group for the past 2 weeks, down there training with those guys, and, had a blast, learned a lot, worked hard, and, I'm ready for camp.
That's a good way to start off, man. Yeah, you're going to be down in Davie. You checked out any of the spots there yet? Have you been there, or you just coming in for the first time?
Yeah, I've been there. We had OTAs and mini camps up that way, and also I was fortunate because when I was coming out training, I did all my training for Pro Day and Combine at down in Davie, Florida, actually beat Bommarito. So I've been pretty much in the same exact area, same exact spot. I think a street over to the right, and I'm at the facility. So very familiar with it, and excited.
You're right over there by. You got to check out Los Spadas Subs, bro. It's out there over on University, right by where you're at. So if you want to get the best sub, you got to go out there. They ain't paying for this either. I grew up down here, so make sure you check that out. Google it, Los Spadas.
Will do.
Thomas, you got something for him?
Oh, of course. Now, Now, when you got that phone call from the Miami Dolphins that they were interested in picking you up, what was the first thing going through your mind?
Well, the first thing was just, I was excited. It was an opportunity, a dream come true. To get an opportunity. That's all you can ask for is, an opportunity to prove that, you can play at this level, that you belong, and that you can help contribute, to the team and help them win. And, I was, like I said, very excited. It's kind of, just ready, for the moment. And, like I said, I've been, working hard and preparing and training and all that. So when it pays off and when you get the opportunity, you get to receive that call, it's a blessing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, growing up, what players did you look up to?
A lot of players, that I liked. Obviously, Randy Moss was, a top receiver when I was younger. And, guys like him who just, really show you, how to be a receiver and, the things it takes to be a receiver and the type of plays you have to make, to be great in this league. So guys like him, obviously, Larry growing up, he's a great receiver as well, tremendous guy. And then you see guys, you have your Calvin Johnsons and your guys like that who go out, each and every day and, prove, to the team how good they are and prove, and make big plays and show the other teams and give them problems. So, and then as far as, inside guys, I like Antonio Brown, very good slot, I believe. And just multiple players, I study a lot of film, watch a lot of different receivers, try to pick up different necks that I can add to my game. But ultimately, you have to find what's comfortable for you. So watching those guys, I just kind of try to manipulate some of the things they do that I can do, to help me do it well and things like that.
Oh, it's very nice. Now, what would you say is your biggest strength out there on the field?
I would just say route running. I would think, that's something that you have to have at this level. Speed and quickness is obviously great to have, and that's, something that I believe I also have too, is, quite a bit of quickness to help separate. But, if you have to be able to run good routes, your speed can only take you so far. If you can't get out of a break, DB's going to be all over you, knocking down the ball all day. So, route running is something I work on each and every day. Whether it's full route today or, top of the route work, things like that. Because, like I said, you have to be able to run good routes. You have to be able to, keep these DBs off balance and create separation.
I saw it during the East-West Shrine game. That was really my first introduction to you. You actually did a very good job of that when I saw you on the field, especially your route running. So I'm not really surprised that that's your answer.
Thanks a lot.
No problem. What have the OTAs been like so far, and what are you looking forward to the most about training camp?
The OTAs have been great, I believe. Just getting down there, obviously first starting with rookie minicamp, getting introduced to the coaching staff, and then obviously from there, the playbook. It's the first time we got to look at it and install some stuff and see, how they want things run and how they want things done. And it, it was a blast just going out there with the other rookies and, competing. Obviously, giving everything you got every day. And then learning, that's the biggest thing I think from that rookie minicamp was just to learn, as much as you can in that, 3 days you have. And, being able to put something on film to see. And next to that, OGAs went well. Like I said, that's when the vets came in. So it was good meeting those guys, watching them do things that, they've been doing for a while and learning from them as well, and those guys helping out. And then just continuing for myself, just continuing to make plays and continuing to, get myself on film. And so I think overall, the 16 practices, I think it was, or whatever it may be that we had, I think they went very well. Learned a lot quickly. Got to studying this playbook, continuing to learn, and just continuing to help contribute.
Hey, Jasper, I wanted to ask you, when the Dolphins were looking at you at the draft there, what intrigued you about that opportunity? They have a lot of new receivers, and there's a lot of fresh faces. Mike Wallace says it's kind of reminding him of college. Was there a certain thing that drew you to the Dolphins as a team? Because, obviously the upside of, not being drafted is that you get to pick your situation. What was about the situation of the Dolphins that made you want to pick them as a team that you took your first stab here at the NFL?
Right. Well, yeah, definitely. I looked at the situation. Obviously, there were multiple teams that called and showed interest right away. But I just felt that I had to look at rosters and see what was going on with each team, and just obviously give myself the best opportunity to make a ball club here. So I think with the Dolphins, one of the keys was they didn't draft a receiver at all. They didn't bring any. They brought in veteran guys, but they didn't draft one in this class. So I knew that there was going to be guys that were going to come in as undrafted and be able to compete. So I think that was it. They did end up trading away their slot receiver from last year and Devon Best. And, he's a very good player as well. So, that was one of the things they brought. Like I said, they did bring in some new guys, but as well as that, comes with, younger guys who are all competing. And, I think that was it. Like I said, a lot of the other teams that did call had drafted receivers, had guys that, they wanted to stick and things like that. So it was just an opportunity that I thought was best for me.
Right. Have you got to study up on Tannehill yet? Is he somebody that, what intrigues you about playing with him? Is he someone that can fit your skill set? Or, you said Devon Best is left. You kind of want to get across the middle of the field maybe when, other guys are going deep? Or is he someone that you see yourself working good with?
Yeah, definitely, Tannehill was a great guy. He's a great quarterback, obviously. And, he's somebody who works hard, puts in the time. And, along with myself, like I said, I'm the guy that's going to do the same thing, work hard, put in the time, and just hopefully, continue to, build chemistry and, like I said, hopefully, help contribute.
Right. Yeah, you touched on the route running. I was reading up, and I saw that a lot of the, I guess you could say, the draft experts, the compliment they seem to all have on you is that you don't rely on speed, you don't rely on size. It was kind of more of your preciseness. You're a great route runner, and you get to the right spot. Is that something that you played at Mount Union and Cecil Shorts played there? Pierre Garçon, did anybody there, who mentored you there? Was it, you played with Cecil a little bit there, right? A couple of years.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely, Cecil was my, my big brother on campus. I actually roomed with him for the 3 years I was there. We played together for 2 years. So, he definitely helped me, ever since I was, a freshman on campus, kind of took me under his wing, showed me the ropes and, taught me, what it takes to be good and, just, hard work. And that was the most important thing.
It was like secret wide receiver you over there or something.
That's what I'm hearing.
That's value down there. They're sleeping on you guys, but you coming up, huh? That's nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Thomas, you got something for him to finish?
We were just talking about Cecil Shorts being a mentor to him. Has anyone on the Dolphins tried to mentor you, Jasper?
All of it's really, they're all guys who, like I said, have been there for 3, 4, 5+ years. So they're guys that are willing to help, any of the players really. They're all great guys. The Hotline Wallace, we got Brandon Gibson and Fred Matthews and guys like that who are all very helpful. You ask a question, they're jumping to give you an answer. They're helping you, see something different and things of that nature. So, just all of them contributing, each and every single one of them are open to answer any question that you have and help you out.
Oh, that's awesome. That speaks to what I've noticed about this team, which is it's a team environment. That's at least what I've heard. Well, Jasper, best of luck to you. Thank you for joining us here on the show. You've been great, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the field this season.
I truly appreciate that.
Wide receiver Jasper Collins, and quite an interview. He was great.
Yeah, I like his attitude. A lot of these guys will come on, podcasts or shows. They don't have time for that crap. But he came on and he was to the point. You can kind of feel out a guy. He's a rookie, but he's training with Larry Fitzgerald up there. He's not. I like his attitude. He comes from school that. They've been slept on. There's been a couple guys come out. I think he smells it. So I like that kid.
Yeah.
I can say kid now because I'm getting too old. So these guys that are playing football used to be adults to me. Now they're kids.
Yeah. No, I've noticed myself getting there too, especially when I've done all the research on all these new players and I see some of them are born in the 90s and
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I have a sister that's a junior now, and like these guys are like a couple years older than her, you know, and she was a baby when I was a senior in high school, so it's ridiculous. You know, I don't know what's happening. I'm getting old.
Yeah, well now, everything I've seen off of Collins now my fear is that the Dolphins might not have room on the roster for him. He gets released, and the Patriots sign him, and he becomes the greatest thing since sliced bread.
You know, I find it. You know what I find kind of weird is that no one mentions Rashard Matthews lately. I thought, you know, he flashed pretty good. He made the team. He beat out the other guy that went to the Eagles. I don't even remember his name. B.J. Cunningham, was it?
Yes,
beat him out. And now they have McNutt, too, kind of did a trade with the Eagles. Same round picks, I think. But nobody mentions him. They kind of stop at Benz. I kind of think that Rashard Matthews has a spot on this team. But, you know, if a guy like Collins can, you know, flash something else, maybe in the return game, you know, maybe we have thick pens, so that's going to be tough for him. But, you know, just do as many jobs as you can, you know. That was an old theme for the Dolphins when Sperano was here, do jobs, you know. So hopefully he can make the team, man, because I was reading up on him today, and I like what he offers, and after talking to him, I like his attitude, so we're rooting for the kid.
No, I am too. And actually, what I noticed with Matthews is that the story has actually changed. Just looking at his Roto-World profile, and you know how on the Roto-World profile for each player, it shows like the last 3 or 4 stories about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Matthews, it's you see one story, he's impressing in camp, but then the very next story, it's that he might not even make the team, and then on the next story, it's that he's impressing in camp, and I mean,
man, all these guys, and they're playing in it's flag football. Like, this guy's been on the field during the game against other men. Like, you know, this kid's improving some stuff. He isn't, you know, he's not a first round pick that's gonna break out. But to me, I was excited about what he brought to the team. And I've actually met him. He met my wife at Publix, so I have a place in my heart for him. So he's a good guy as well. But you can only carry so many receivers, you know. So, you know, this kid Jasper, maybe we keep him around. I keep wanting to call him Cecil, and that would be probably the worst possible thing I could do.
That would be bad.
I've caught myself about 4 times. I'm like, yeah, Cecil. Oh.
Although then again, it was so long ago that we might actually have to explain that, although I really don't feel like explaining that.
Yeah, at some point someone's going to call him Cecil, and hopefully he doesn't know the story behind that. So
I hope so too.
Yeah. That's real nice, man. It's good to, we're talking football, man. It's coming up. You know, I think it's pretty ridiculous that the Dolphins, it's nice they play in a couple of weeks, but to me, they're going to play like 30% of the season fake football. That just seems 5 preseason games. We were just talking that they might cut it down to 2, and now they got 5. I mean, amazing. There's going to be a whole lot of Tannehill holding his helmet after, you know, 2 handoffs games, because you can't risk it. And we learned that with Jake Long, and look what that started off. He's gone. You know that. I mean, you cannot risk it, and it's just going to be, that's good for guys like this kid, Jasper.
Oh, no.
He's going to have a lot more time, you know, to get on the field.
Yeah, no, he'll play at least 3 quarters in that first game against the Cowboys in Canton, which, I can't believe it's only about 3 weeks away. But,
yeah, I'm gonna try to check out that Sunday practice, because, you know, a lot of us, I got a day job. Like, it's hard for me to get out there and Dave, I'm not 12 years old anymore to give up your autographs, you know. It's tough. I live close, you know. I live close right up University, but you know, unfortunately, my job won't pay me to be there and cover it. So I'm gonna try to get out there on the weekend. I think they might. Usually they do that practice at the stadium.
Actually, I was going to get to that. On July 29th, they are having a practice at the stadium. You just download the tickets. I already have a couple. And I think I might even give a couple away on Twitter to anyone following the show. So,
well, I didn't even see that they released that. Was it last year or 2 years ago where it just like poured it was like the worst idea ever.
There was a couple of weeks ago where not only did it pour, but also Chad Henne came out and they booed the guy to smithereens.
Yeah.
And I believe there was even a "We Want Orton" chant.
Well, yeah, there's some excitement around this team this year. Some actual real, so not zombies, Dolphins fan excitement. So, it's actual for a reason. There's actually some expectations behind the squad, not just fake, I love this team. I can see bright spots, even though we're going to, likelihood is we're not going to be going anywhere. Definitely. So it's hopefully, they got a tough part of the schedule. The more I look at that schedule, I'm just like, now the Bengals, now I'm just like, when it first came out, I was like, oh, the Bengals. Then you forget the Bengals are going to be real good this year. That's totally sad, but they're going to be tough, they're going to be tough. They're not, just because they're a uniform, they've actually got some players there, so that schedule keeps getting tougher, and I'm just like, oh, but if they can survive that first part, there's some fans out there that are really excited about this season.
They're going to be fine if they survive the first part. And coming up next on the show is Bob Harris.
Check out ProFootballCentral.com for all the latest NFL news and analysis. Also, check out the very popular Pro Football Central Radio Network for awesome NFL talk around the league. Go to ProFootballCentral.com. ProFootballCentral.com.
Hey, we're back here on Dolphins Central. We're joined by Bob Harris of the Football Diehards, www.footballdiehards.com. You can follow him at Twitter at Football Diehards. How you doing today, Bob?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
Doing well.
Very well.
Obviously, you are on a Miami Dolphins podcast here. So, just in general, what sticks out about this team this year? What do you got to say about the promise of this season for us?
I'm torn. I like a lot of the moves they made. I like the young talent, I guess. I like, that they were aggressive in free agency. I like that they seem to be heading in the right direction, but I just wonder how far they have to go, Ryan Tannehill is a guy, as a fantasy guy, he's a guy that you would draft as your second quarterback and maybe a guy who can really outperform that, if everything goes his way. He's athletic, coming off of, a strong enough rookie season, showed a lot, I thought, but they added some playmaking ability around him. The problem was, last year they were still 26th in the league in passing offense. They were 27th in scoring. They were, they have room to improve, and we need to see them improve. And, I guess the expectation is with guys like Lamar Miller moving up into the rotation at running back, likely the starter, with Wallace coming in, maybe freeing up Hartline, who's probably better suited to a number 2 than number 1 role. And I say probably, absolutely. We'll see what happens beyond that. I think there was some hope for Brandon Gibson, but it sounds like Armon Binns maybe is more of a playmaker, could emerge. Is that Dustin Keller? They put all these pieces in place, but are any of them great red zone weapons? Wallace is a great scoring threat from outside, from distance. But what do they have in the red zone? And I guess that's the question. None of these guys are really proven in the red zone, and that's an area they really need to improve in. So if Lamar Miller doesn't get it done, and I obviously, they're obviously high on him. The rest of us have not seen everything we see. And one thing I try to believe in is, coaching staffs are around guys every day. Decisions are made by the team because they see things every day. We don't see them. We get perceptions of them. We get snippets of that from the media reporting and from the people who are there watching. But even they aren't there for the amount of time the staff is. So you have to put some degree of trust in the staff and the personnel people. And part of that is, part of the credibility they have comes from their track record. And it's just not all there yet for Miami.
Right. It's interesting. This season, everybody knows Ryan Tannehill's background where he was a wide receiver at Texas A&M. But Philip Wheeler, the new linebacker, was talking about when he's with Raiders that, he was surprised how fast he was. They looked back, they were covered back out of the backfield, he was gone. Do you think that's something this season that he can show?
He was a receiver in college, Ryan Tannehill
right.
was. He's a very athletic guy, and I think if they bring some elements of that read option, and I know they're going to spread things out a little more. They've been working with some 4 receiver sets. I agree. I think they're banking on him, and I think Mike Sherman obviously knows him, from their days together at Texas A&M. So I think, there is something there. We just have to see if it all comes together, right?
Exactly. And also the offensive line. You have a new left tackle there. And if he comes back, there's no fantasy points happening. There's negative fantasy points happening if you play in that kind of league. So it's just, I've said it so many times, there's so much promise for this team, but there's so many moving parts. And whether it's offense and defense, it's really the entire team. Even the kicker. The Dolphins are, there's promise. There's lots of money thrown around. There's new guys, new jerseys, but you really don't know what you're going to get.
We were talking before I came on that I'm, defense is not my specialty, but I'm playing in more IDP leagues every year, and I've been playing fantasy football since 1986, so I'm a bit of a dinosaur. Right. But getting into more of the dynasty and IDP leagues, I find myself drawn to some of the young talent in Miami, and I have drafted some of them. And I feel like, at the offensive side, yes, you're going to draft Mike Wallace. Yes, Lamar Miller is going to be a hot pick this year. And there's going to come a point where Brian Hartline, you're not going to get better value for the number of targets he's going to get. It's what he produces with those targets. Is he going to have one big game again this year and then kind of be mediocre the rest of the year in terms of production, not in terms of, getting the job done? And you wonder what Dustin Keller can give them. I thought it was interesting, a fellow that a lot of us follow on Twitter, Fantasy Douche, Frank DuPont, he's with RotoViz. He had a great line. He said it looks like this is a team built to kick field goals because they don't have that powerful red zone, weaponry that you'd like to see.
God, we've seen enough of that. If I see one more 16-13 Browns game, I'm just going to log off. We don't need that anymore. And we don't even know who's kicking the field goal because our kicker. What's that?
That'll be the opener, right? At 16-13 against Cleveland.
Yeah, just the under if that's the problem there. But, Thomas, you want to go ahead and get something in?
I don't know if I'm still traumatized over the whole field goals thing because that's been the last 10 years, it feels like. But you mentioned that you've gotten more into IDP leagues, and this is actually my first year participating in an IDP league, but we're not talking about my team, just in general. On defense, I'll get to offense in a little bit, don't worry. But on defense, what would you say would be the solid picks on the Dolphins?
I've gone after Cameron Wake in a lot of leagues. In a startup IDP, I had my eye on Deion Jordan. I guess there's still, some doubts about him floating around out there. But I think you look at guys like Donnell Ellerbe. They're, middle linebackers are like gold in most IDP leagues. I think that's a guy people are going to be looking at, and Wheeler also. So I think there's plenty of guys. Chris Clemens is a guy I drafted, although I wish maybe I could have gotten someone a little high. But there comes a point in the draft where everyone has value, right? In your fantasy draft. And I think that's the thing that works in the favor of guys like Clemens. But also on the offensive side, I think there's some great value plays on offense when you look at guys like Hartline, you're going to get so late in the draft. And also, I think Dustin Keller's going way later than he should, especially if you're in point per reception scoring. I think those two guys are going to get a lot of targets at least. And, I know the complaint against Mike Wallace. We all, everyone knows the complaint against Mike Wallace, the one-trick pony thing. He will contend otherwise, and I'm sure the Dolphins will also. Well, I hope they give him a chance to prove that because, really, in Pittsburgh, he didn't have a chance he didn't really get an opportunity to prove that. He didn't run a lot of routes other than deep routes. And, hey, he was pretty effective with them, okay? He put up the numbers that got him a pretty ginormous contract, and I think, it was probably deserved. You look at, what do we got? 4,042 receiving yards, 32 touchdowns in the last 4 years. I think those are solid numbers, and that's the kind of playmaker you need on offense. But I wonder if you're not overpaying for him from a fantasy perspective when you draft him. And I think Lamar Miller's a guy whose stock just keeps rising because we hear all the positive buzz. And I'd say the same for Tannehill. The buzz is all positive. When you hear teammates, coaches, and the beat writers alike all spinning the same yarn, it's because they want to look smart. Especially in the case of the local media, they don't want to look like schmucks later on. They want to look like the guy who was ahead of the game. That's one of the problems, though, for fantasy guys. We tend to look smart about a year earlier than we should look smart. So I'm wondering if that's going to be an issue with Miller. Obviously, not a lot behind him. We all know what Daniel Thomas is, right? I mean,
yes,
he has shown us. And so, I mean, Miller, it's the optimism of the unknown. We haven't seen what this guy could do. We've had these brief little flashes in this 5+ yards per carry. And boy, we would love that to continue on because we know what the alternative is. It's Thomas, and we don't like it. Maybe Gillisley might like that. He's unknown too.
Yeah. If they ever change the fantasy rules or the NFL rules to where a running back can only run to the line with his back facing the defenders, Daniel Thomas will be possibly number one pick.
He would be the Adrian Peterson of.
Yeah.
It's a harsh assessment, but honestly, I mean, what's the old Solomon Wilcox line? When somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yeah. Now, outside of Wallace, what kind of production outside of Wallace and Hartline, you already talked about, what kind of production would you see from Miami's other receivers, like Brandon Gibson or even Armand Benz, who has gotten a lot of hype in the last couple weeks?
Yeah, Benz is really a guy that's kind of interesting because we saw the flashes of what he could do in Cincinnati, and it's another guy. It's the optimism of the unknown. It's we're pretty sure we've seen what Brandon Gibson's got to offer. I mean, he's had a lot of opportunities. Benz has been more limited in his opportunities. Maybe we were a little more enthusiastic for the upside, especially when you hear what a playmaker he's been he was in mini camps and OTAs. But Gibson is the solid pro there. You would expect him to be the third guy. And if they're running these 4 receiver sets, it sounds like they'll keep Dustin Keller in the mix. So Benz will have to come on a bit. I think in terms of, on draft day, Wallace is going to go fairly early. You're going to have to draft him as a wide receiver too at the very worst. And beyond that, though, you start looking at Hartline, and again, you're not going to, I think it was Frank Dupont also who said, you're not going to find a cheaper 100-target receiver in your draft this year. And I think you're going to see the same for Keller, who maybe won't get as many targets, but he's going to see a lot of action as long as he's healthy, because what is there beyond him? I mean, Deion Sims, I mean, I don't know, Michael Agnew. I think I heard enough on Hard Knocks last year about Agnew to keep me happy for the rest of my days. It sounds like he doesn't, not a strong contender.
We can't repeat his nicknames on the radio, even though this is a podcast. If there's any children listening, I'm going to go ahead and not repeat that.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Hey,
I got a question for you. How do you?
I'm an interesting guy too, by the way. I mean, I think.
Yes, actually, I was talking to him on Twitter today. I wouldn't give up on him. I like his hybrid type style. But Bob, I had a question for you on Vonta Leach. How do you think he's going to affect the Lamar Miller stock when it comes to being drafted? Because he has blocked for a lot of great running backs, and I think that might make a lot of people feel a lot safer about how he's going to perform.
I think people are drafting Miller no matter what. If you end up Leach ends up there, I mean, more power to him. I think whether it's Leach, Lane, whoever, I think he's a hot commodity, Miller is. And he's going to be hot because for 2 reasons. Number one, that's 5+ yards per carry, and there's nobody else. I mean, in deeper leagues and in startup IDP leagues and in, or startup dynasty leagues and, where there's, you have a rookie pool every year, people are going to go after Gillisley for sure. But I don't think the expectations are that high. The expectations, look, when you move Reggie Bush out of the way because you have this guy, and I mean, that's essentially what it came down to. I mean, whether the coaches, the excuse that they didn't like Bush's freelancing so much, whatever it is, look, they wanted to get this guy on the field, and they had Reggie Bush and they let him go. So I think that alone generates a lot.
I did not agree with that. I did not agree with that decision, but that's for another topic.
I don't know that I would either. Honestly, I mean, I think you have a good, solid, proven commodity in Reggie Bush. If you want to bring Miller into the mix, I mean, but that's one of the things that you taught, that I mentioned. The coaching staff is there every day. They see these guys every day. They see things we don't see. The question is how much trust you have in the personnel and the coaching people there. And I don't think we have enough of a track record with this group in Miami, enough positive track record. Maybe the coaching staff. I mean, Mike Sherman, I have a pretty good feel. I thought his assessment of Michael Agnew was pretty good, right? So, but it's, but in general, Jeff Ireland, I mean, I'm not sure anyone has as much confidence in him as Stephen Ross does, right?
Right. You know, it's funny. They're making a joke. It's last season we saw in Hard Knocks, they kind of had a Dolphins council where it was a couple of the veteran guys, some of the couch, the dreaded couch, and they sit down and they talk about the team. It was their idea. All those guys are gone. You know, so it's like, you know, off the field, Reggie Bush, all you hear about is him pushing sleds afterwards. You know, he made the most plays for them last season. And now, and not like he got like $30 million guaranteed. It wasn't that expensive. So, especially when you have a kicker that can make.
You look at the guys who are gone. I mean, and it is interesting. Jake Long, Reggie Bush, Devon Best, Anthony Fasano, Sean Smith, Carlos Dansby. I mean, they're none of them are shrinking violets, you know.
Right.
And it does kind of make you wonder a little bit if it was all on field. You know, but hey, isn't that the right of a coaching staff to build the roster and the leadership of the team to suit their style and their needs? So
that's definitely what Philbin has done. I think he's changed. He's changed kind of what the kind of players they're bringing in. He wants to bring in his own.
Right.
Exactly. And go ahead.
And that also explains why this season is so make or break, because if the Dolphins turn in another 7-9 season, then we could be seeing more wholesale changes next year, because you'll be seeing a new general manager who might want to bring in his own coach, is going to want to bring in his own players. That's just the way it happens. And, you know, I'm not exactly defending Philbin for his moves. If he's the one that, you know, that sort of, you know, had no problem with Jake Long or Reggie leaving, but I understand with Long. I'm still lost with Best, and I'm still lost with Bush, and I think that both of them could have helped this team out a lot this year. But
exactly,
I you know, they spent a lot of money to bring in the guys that they brought in to replace them too. I mean, you know, Wallace was expensive. You had Grimes, Ellerby, Keller, Clabo, Gibson. I mean, they spent freely, and I think that's, you know, that'll be part of the equation. It always is, and I think, you know, overall. You know, I know Ireland catches a lot of flack in the media, probably a fair amount of it rightfully so. I mean, the record speaks for itself. You know, at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. You have to win games. But he does seem to, you know, at least be a knowledgeable guy, whether all his decisions are turn out right or not. I see the logic in a lot of them. I don't necessarily see the logic in the Reggie Bush thing, unless Lamar Miller is the most badass guy this side of the Pecos, or that side of the Pecos, because I'm on the other side of the Pecos.
All right. Finally, Bob, out of the entire team, both offense and defense, whether you are in an IDP league or a dynasty league, regardless of the league, which player on the Dolphins would be the first player that would come off the board in your draft?
For me, it's Lamar Miller, and probably Cameron Wake after him if I had to pick a guy on the other side of the ball. And I have picked Cameron Wake in a number of leagues. But I think Miller is the guy that's going off. Wallace, you know, and it's just, you know, the scarcity of position at running back versus wide receiver. There's a lot of wide receivers that are going ahead of him. I think Miller is the guy I would rather have first.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Be sure to check out footballdiehards.com. It does require a subscription, but it is certainly worth it. Bob, thank you so much.
Yes, and you can listen to me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio every Saturday night, 7 to 10 on Football Die Hard.
Very cool. Thanks, Bob.
Cigar fans, check out fifthdowncigar.com and enter the coupon code PFC to get 10% off your order. Lots of nice high-end cigars. That's fifthdowncigar.com. Enter the code PFC for 10% off your order.
Thanks to Bob Harris from footballdiehards.com for joining us. And also, as we normally do, we would like to thank our sponsors, onit.com. Visit onit.com/footballradio, and you will receive 10% off of your order of vitamins or supplements. That's onit.com/footballradio. Now, we had a great discussion with Jasper Collins, and and of course with Bob Harris. Now, Ryan, is there anything else Dolphins related that you would like to comment on?
Oh, it's exciting, man. It's happening. I think this town is there's select few people following Marlin, so the heat left us, and I'm just on YouTube just watching these highlights and like listening to montages on the radio this season. I'm ready for some sports, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm ready to do this. I tried to watch the All-Star game last night just for some sports, and I watched the whole thing, the ground outs, 0 runs, 0 hits, and then Fernandez gets up and they interview a Pirate the entire time. And so, I'm just ready for some action, man. I'm ready to see some football. It feels like it's been like 3 years since the Dolphins played. I don't know. This seems like the longest off season of my life. So really excited for this, Been doing a lot more research and a lot more looking into the kids than I have in the past. I kind of knew what we had before, and I wasn't a big fan of it. So I'm ready, man. How about you?
No, I'm definitely ready. Sunday, first day of training camp cannot come soon enough. Neither can August 4th, which is, of course, against the Cowboys. That Hall of Fame game where you're really only going to see these guys for maybe one series, but it's still something.
Maybe one play. They might actually, maybe mid-play. They're just going to call timeout, like, mid-play, kneel it, and Daniel will take a knee, and then, like, it'll be a mass exit of the entire team to the sideline. A bunch of guys in red jerseys will run out, like, tattered up, like, high school jerseys. That's probably what's going to happen. So it'll be kind of like the summer league for basketball. I was really excited for it, and then the first shot was an air ball by our second round pick, and I was like, okay. And I was like, oh look, Doug Dynasty's on. It's like, forget this. But it's football. Any football is better than no football.
Definitely.
So let's do it.
Definitely, and once again, July 29th when they have the open practice at Sun Life Stadium, all Dolphins fans listening to the show, come out to that practice and say hi to me, and I'll say hi to you and whatnot, and check out what the Dolphins have to offer us this season, and let's pack the house that night. That looks like it's going to be fun. That looks like it's going to be fun. And also, go on.
Yeah, you can probably get the cheerleaders too, so that's pretty cool. That might be the highlight of that night.
Yeah, that's right. I used to love going to those when I was a kid. I remember they actually had one at the Orange Bowl where, because like there was a Marlins game at the stadium, so they had like a scrimmage at the Orange Bowl, and I had a Dolphins cheerleader poster, and all of them signed it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think when I was a little bit younger, that was kind of before the internet and mental images, if you know what I mean. He's taking mental images of the cheerleaders. Yes, sir. So, yeah, I'm ready for some football, man. We're just ready to get it over with. We've been talking. I mean, we're breaking down, guys we're breaking down these moves and saying, oh, it's going to work, it's not going to work. It's just ready to go, I mean, you never know what you can get. People are comparing Lamar Miller to Clem Portis before he had 250 yards last season. People are taking him high in the draft. And it takes like a week to figure out we don't have a running back. So let's hope it's the opposite, and there's some exciting stuff,
Yeah, no, it is definitely very exciting, and I was actually feeling, it coming closer as I was working on the training camp primer, which is up at BleacherReport.com. I'm releasing a new article every hour for the rest of the night, and the full training camp primer should be up by around 10 o'clock tonight. So be sure to check that out. Of course, if you're listening to this later than Wednesday night when we're usually on, then it's already up. So just go to BleacherReport.com/MightyDolphins, and you'll be able to find the training camp primer there. Also, be sure to follow the show at Dolphins Central. Next week, we're going to do a mailbag. So.
We got to see this stuff, really.
Yeah, next week we're going to do a mailbag. We'll answer some questions from the fans.
Very cool.
So be sure to follow Dolphins Central and tweet your questions there. And I'm not even going to make you guys do a silly hashtag. I'm just going to do the mailbag, and also be sure to follow me at Thomas Galicia and follow Ryan at Riz Rights. Ryan, you have anything?
Yes, sir. No, just you can follow me on Riz Rights, and also I'm right for the Miami Times. The heat season is over, so we've concentrated on the Dolphins stuff lately, and get some special stuff coming up later on in the week and in August. There's some cool stuff in, so check out the side blog on MiamiNewTimes.com. I'm out there. I get jokes and everything else, so you can check that out.
All right. Once again, our thanks to Jasper Collins and to Bob Harris for joining us on the show today. And be sure to check us out. And be sure to keep downloading our podcast and to join us next week, same fin time, same fin podcast.
This has been a presentation of the Pro Football Central Network. For news, blogs, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.